The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
This is it. This is where it all begins. This is where we say goodbye to Windows 7 once and for all. Nothing wrong with Windows 7. It's a perfectly good operating system, but it's from a different time period, a different era, a time when things were much different than they are right now, even in terms of how Microsoft approaches making Windows and stuff like that. So you've already seen the conversion for the portables, and now it's time for Tuxedo to get moved up to Windows 10. We're going to use the same approach that we use with the portables. We're going to upgrade first, activate the upgraded version, and then blank everything and do a clean install. Oh, and I won't be waiting for the Windows upgrade tool to take its sweet old time deciding when my computer's ready. We have a backup image in case things go horrendously and dreadfully wrong, so we have a way to go back, unlike with the portables. So let's get straight to work on this. Windows 10 Pro 64 is replacing Windows 7 Professional 64-bit. This might be a little more uneventful compared to previous upgrades to Windows 10 because I already know how this is all going to work. And the portables were a little more straightforward. This might be a little more complicated though, because I have to wonder what I'm going to do in terms of system restores, or making images, or other things as well. So we'll have to figure all that out and see what we can do about all that. This is clearly just a way to tide me over until Monolith is built, and I actually buy a retail copy of Windows 10 for that machine, which will give me back my recovery disk and ways to emergency restore the system. Things along those lines. So let's see this all pop up here. There's Windows as the chair pops away. This is the popping chair. And let's get to work on upgrading Tuxedo. As part of the prep work for getting Tuxedo ready to be upgraded, I went on an uninstalling spree to clear up the games in the games directories that I have on the data drive on this thing. One of the things that I'll be doing differently with Windows 10 is using more services for games than CD games, although my remaining CD-based games that I still use are going to be treated like Steam games and given a common folder and stuff like that. So it should be interesting. It should be interesting to see what I can do, but I definitely plan on making more use of services like Steam and GOG that let me have account-based games access, that let me take my games between various systems, instead of having like max installs because of SecuROM from a disk or something along those lines. Should make things interesting in terms of the PC gaming world and how all that works. In this case, I've decided to keep apps this time around for the upgrade installation. I don't want to risk anything getting blown away off of the data drive or anything. So here's the blue screen of upgrades, not to be confused with the blue screen of death, although this blue screen is a bit more purplish in nature. Oh well, either way it screws with the focus on the camera. This may not be a very momentous video because there's nothing left for me to figure out. I already know how to upgrade to Windows 10. I think the big question is what happens afterwards. Like, what do I do in terms of images? When do I make the master image for Windows 10? And what do I do in terms of recovery CDs, or basically, what am I going to do until I build Monolith and buy a retail copy of Windows 10 when I go to build Monolith later on? That's the question I have to find an answer to. My thoughts exactly. This video is a little less momentous, but hey, it's Tuxedo being upgraded. Blech! This is why I want to do a clean install. That looks like garbage. Oh man. Duh. Looks like I have a little bit of weekenditis going on here. Hey, even though I downloaded this free upgrade as an ISO from the internet, it can be burned onto a CD and used to repair the computer system. Duh. Alright. The upgrade worked poorly. So now we're going for the fresh install, same way we did with the portables. So let's get underway with that right now. But you can use the computer. You can use the CD you burned to repair the computer. Wow. Let's get this over with. Darn it! I want to do some stuff with this machine, like play some games and stuff in Windows 10. Woo! I blew away the right drive. That would have sucked if I didn't. Good morning, everyone. It's the next day. This has been an absolute roller coaster ride, let me tell you. So, I do have it up and running after reinstalling it a bunch of times because I found out the hard way about certain hardware and software issues that are going on right now because the OS is too darn new. So, first and foremost, if your CD gets too much of a fingerprint smudge on it, it can actually blue screen while trying to install. So that was one thing I ran into. I went to install it, one of my reinstalls, everything blue screen. I was like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, big fingerprint smudge on the bottom of the CD. So I cleaned that off and it worked just fine afterwards. Ooh, flicker vision on an LCD. That takes talent. Anyways, what kind of glitches have I not encountered? First of all, to anybody who uses Zone Alarm, don't use Zone Alarm on a main system until they get that sucker out of beta. There is a version of Zone Alarm that works in Windows 10, but it's a beta version. And what I ran into was the first Windows security update started screwing things up. The Zone Alarm, I don't know if it's because I'm running Windows 10 Pro on here as opposed to the Home Edition, because I was using Windows 7 Professional before making the upgrade. But what happened was, after like a restart or a patch or two, the firewalls started jumping on each other's toes. Windows Firewall and Zone Alarm started giving each other trouble. So I kept picking Zone Alarm, but it didn't seem to be working. And then eventually it just quit entirely, and the whole computer couldn't connect to the internet. And when I went to uninstall Zone Alarm to fix that, it popped an error message of some database lookup or something like that. Bottom line, Zone Alarm is too buggy to use right now, so I'm going to wait until an actual retail release and just use the Windows Firewall for now. I'm not very fond of Windows Firewall because it's one way only. It doesn't really do anything when it comes to malware. It's only about intrusion prevention, maybe, but I don't feel like messing with Komodo, Zone Alarm's main rival, because Komodo can be a mess in and of itself. What a mess. So, this is what I get for manually overriding the upgrade process. I could have waited until the upgrade thing said, oh yeah, Windows 10's ready for your PC right now, but instead I manually overrode it. I've also had to disable the sound card because there's no Dolby Digital support for my current sound card right now. So, and the software, I checked Creative's website, there won't be full sound card support for Windows 10 for my Titanium Fatality Champion from a couple of years back until October. So I've actually disabled the sound card and I'm fooling around with onboard audio. But I think what I'm going to end up with is being stuck with Pro Logic audio for a couple of months instead of actually being able to encode to Dolby or DTS and send it out to the AV receiver, because I don't have an analog sound system that I could pop in right now unless I brought back those Logitechs that I used to use years ago that used to pop every so often. So, what a mess this has been. But it's somewhat working, at least the graphics work, and I'll probably be able to get some games going with Pro Logic sound. Question is, do I want to use the crude drivers for Creative right now, or keep the sound card disabled and use the onboard Realtek audio? I think there's supposed to be Dolby Home Theater for my motherboard, but I haven't been able to find a working download of it. Bottom line, if you do anything with Windows 10, bottom line, if you don't know what you're doing, wait until the update thing says that your upgrade is ready before upgrading to Windows 10. Otherwise, you will run into trouble like I've done. Well, look what I found from the motherboard's website. Dolby Digital Live. So the onboard audio will do 3D out, but the Creative card that I spent like $170 on several years ago won't. Good job, Creative. And don't wonder why people constantly make fun of Creative drivers. Ooh, that was a big hand quotes. Yeah, people crack jokes about Creative drivers all the time, and that would be why. They suck. Creative sound cards can be half-decent devices, but the drivers are, well, they leave something to be desired. Okay, let's finish setting this computer up. More driver nonsense. So even when I have it properly set up for Dolby Digital Live from the motherboard, The AV receiver just clicks on and off because it doesn't know what's being sent to it. I think there's a driver conflict. It also didn't help that the gigabyte drivers for the onboard audio were for Windows 7. So, looks like I'm gonna let me try yanking the sound card and then redoing this from the ground up. I mean, I can practically do that in my sleep with how many times I've redone it this weekend. Look, Ma, no sound card! This thing never ran all that well anyways. First, I had to take off the cover on this thing in order to not have it potentially short against the video card. And of course, the sound cutouts were a regular problem with this thing. Good old creative drivers. Makes me wonder if I should even bother with sound cards anymore. This was not a good idea. This crude 5-year-old onboard audio may be able to send stuff to the AV receiver, but it actually does that in real time. Maybe if I shut up and I click this enough, you'll hear anything but sound, but you'll hear the relay clicking as I confuse the crap out of the AV receiver. Yep, there you go. Okay, Uncle, throw in the towel. Never mind. Turn the onboard sound chip back off. Put the sound card back in. We'll just deal with Pro Logic audio for 2 months until the proper 3D support gets released in October. Well, August, September, something like that. Creative. And what am I gonna do? Spend $100 on another creative sound card that might have this exact same problem? I think not. Time to wipe this thing out once again. Yeah! So here's the nutty part. I've traced the wacko drivers that get installed from Windows 10 to the Windows 7 drivers that were released in July of 2010, which makes me wonder, what if I installed the CD, even though this was originally made for Vista? What if I installed the CD of the drivers and then just upgraded everything afterwards? Things that make you go, Ha! This is working! And we'll just use software auto update to update the drivers to the Windows 8.1 version afterwards. The big thing is to get to where the software actually works, so I can actually open up the encoder selector and select Dolby Digital Live or DTS or something like that, so the system isn't constantly switching between codec and decoding and what it sends to the AV receiver, which is what I ran into with the onboard audio. Oh, the tangled web we weave. By the way, this software is dated 2008. So, yeah, well, the sound card still works, so whatever. Everything is broken once again. Those drivers broke half of Windows. The internet wouldn't connect, half the services wouldn't start, and the diagnostic policy service, which is used to... Oh, cool! And this is what I get for trying to restart it. Now I get a blue screen. Yeah, that was not a good idea. At the same time, I'm thinking I should switch back to Windows 7 if the slightest little incompatibility is going to take down the whole system like this. Well, time to blow away the C drive once again and reinstall Windows for the umpteenth time. Nice product you put out, Microsoft. Oh, and shame on all those hardware developers who don't have drivers on launch day. The technical preview was out for a long time. There is no excuse for these many compatibility issues at launch time for Windows 10.
Epic fail.
Okay, this has taken far too long. Once again, 2 cold boots in a row. I magically have no sound. Let me guess. Uninstalling the sound card and restarting the computer fixes this, right? The camera strap fail.
Epic fail.
Let's see, that's going out to the television, so let's change this over. Alright, so it's going out to the Samsung. Oh, it's reinstalling the drivers. Let's watch this list. This is where we come back. Nice little demonstration of one of the biggest problems I've had since I've had this thing. 2 high-definition audio. It's taking a while to download the drivers anyways. Let's try this. Set default. Digital audio SPDIF. There it goes. So I basically had to blow away my sound card I had to blow away the sound card and go back to SPDIF in order to get my sound back. Okay, so how long have we been filming this now? I think I've set a record for the amount of time I spent recording a YouTube video. So anyways, let's wrap this up, shall we? Because, well, I've spent enough time recording this, and I want to move on to bigger and better things, because I have Windows 10 working very, very respectably. Yay! Anyways, so first and foremost, the FUD crowd is going into damage control mode on this, in the comments section on here. It's pretty hilarious. Now that folks like myself are showing that these people were wrong, they're going around saying, well, you know, it's stuff with, if you have an OEM license, that's when you run into this crap. Yeah, with an OEM license. My copy of Windows 7 that I upgraded from was an OEM license. Discussion over. Let's close this crap, shall we? Now, I also... And some people have been asking, why did you record that Quicko flick? I mean, it really wasn't necessary. Anybody who knew what they were talking about knows that Microsoft licensing doesn't work that way, and that the hardware hash is tied to your motherboard, BIOS, etc., blah blah blah, ever since Windows Vista. Well, you know, some idiots on the internet will literally argue tooth and nail and desperately grasp at whatever they can grasp at to continue the argument, because why let the facts get in the way of a good shouting match? C'est la vie, that's the way these morons operate. So sometimes you have to shut them up with a real demonstration that they're wrong and that they're idiots. Until, of course, they're like, that's fake! Anyways, let's close the book on this too, and let's talk about something good for a change. I fixed my sound problems. And it's hilarious, you know, I was talking about creative drivers earlier, but I downloaded an unofficial driver pack from the creative forums that installed a lot of the fancy features that come with the various sound cards in these families and whatnot, and everything works. I have a couple of glitches sometimes where the speakers reset to 2.1 instead of 5.1, but for the most part, everything works. And it's real surround sound, not fake ProLogic stuff. So those are actually coming from the back speakers. I actually do a noise test too. It's absolutely hilarious because these unofficial drivers actually work better than the official downloads that were compatible with Windows 7. And another problem I've had with this sound card is that the MIDI on it is basically the sound font support has always been horrible on this X-Fi Titanium. I usually got weird clicking noises whenever I played MIDIs. That doesn't happen with big, huge sound fonts on these unofficial drivers. I actually think the person that coded these probably did a better job coding them than Creative did with the official stuff. So, not officially supported by Creative, but I'm seriously thinking of sticking with these unofficial drivers even when the official drivers launch. Things that just make you scratch your head, let me tell you. I do have some lingering curiosities about what's going to happen to the Silver Bullet, which is still running the technical preview, so maybe that should be my next big experiment. But as it is right now, as you've seen with the Quicko flick that I uploaded last night, well, last night, as I'm recording this the day after I uploaded it, blah, 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 you know, now that you've seen me crunch video, the only glitch that I have left to figure out is the disappearing mouse cursor glitch in Guild Wars 2. If I can play games and crunch video and poke around on the internet and all that fun stuff on this machine, then I'll stick with Windows 10, even though Windows 10 is totally beta on release. I can't say this enough, folks. Unless you know what the heck you're doing, do not touch Windows 10. Do not spend a single red penny on Windows 10 until this garbage is ironed out in a couple of months, because, you know, I haven't spent a single red penny on it. I took the free upgrade. I manually overrode, you know, cut the line, so to speak. I manually overrode the upgrade process, and I've run into some issues and some hiccups that have made me learn a few things about troubleshooting these sorts of issues that have led to Windows 10 now being in proper working order for me. But I'm hearing the horror stories already. There actually are some negative articles finally being posted to the internet about the problems people are having with Windows 10. And I was even looking on Facebook the other day, so I was like, oh, I just bought a new laptop with Windows and an upgrade to Windows 10, and now I have no sound. So it's Yeah, right. Do not touch Windows 10 with a 10-foot pole until this crap gets ironed out, because sadly, Microsoft and the PC industry, it's all their fault, not just Microsoft, but everybody who's involved decided to play the beta unreleased game, which is sad. This is a big enough problem in gaming. And now, here it is, with what's supposed to be the last major release of Windows ever. What a way to go out, Microsoft, huh? Right. This closes the book on the Tuxedo Windows 10 experiment for now, and it certainly took long enough. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.